This is the paper mache I like to use. So it comes in different size boxes. It's called Plastercraft. I get the really big box from Amazon for my classes, and it comes in big rolls like this. So it's the gauze with already the modeling material in it, and then I cut it into strips just like this to make it easier to use. So what I have today is I have my modeling strips, my Plastercraft strips. I have a recycled pizza box that I've cut down, a hot glue gun, but you can definitely use just regular Elmer's glue, some tape, and then I have these little recycled cups. So depending on the size that you want or the thickness you want your letter to be, you can either get some cups like this, or you can just make a stack of cardboard and you can stack them up for the thickness that you want your letter to be. And lastly, a pair of scissors. I have cut out 2 equal rectangles from my pizza boxes. You want to make sure that they are equal in size because you need the front and the back of your letter, and you definitely want to make sure you have a flat edge so that when you do go to stand up your letter, it stands up nice and balanced. This is what I want you to think about when you go to draw your letter. As you can see the alphabet here, each letter touches all 4 sides of the box that it is in. Same thing goes for the numbers, except for the number 1. If you take a look at the letter A, the top of the A touches the top of the box, the sides of the A touch the side of the box, and the bottom of the A touches the bottom. The B, same thing. So whatever letter you decide to do, to make sure that it's nice and even, make sure your letters touch all 4 sides of your box. You can pause the video here and you can practice doing letters on a separate piece of paper to make sure that you know how to do it and you're comfortable with it before you do it on your cardboard and start cutting. I am going to be doing the letter A, so I am first going to find the center of the top of my cardboard, and that is 4 inches, so that is the center. And again, I need to make sure that I touch all 4 sides of my cardboard so that I know that my letter is nice and even. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to make sure it goes right to that center, and I'm going to make sure it touches this corner right here, the edge corner. And I'm going to do the same to this side. Now, once you have all of the easy parts cut, make sure to save any extra cardboard, set it aside. You may want to use this for something else. If you have something in the center of your letter, which most of us will, one of the things that I like to do is take my pencil and kind of just poke it, almost like you're making it perforated to make it easier for you to cut. So I'm going to go around the entire little triangle in the center. Now that I have it perforated, I could either use an X-Acto knife like this and just cut right through here. However, working with elementary and middle school students, I do not use that. So I'm going to show you what you can do if you don't have an X-Acto knife. So I'm going to cut right up through here and cut the triangle out. And it's okay if you're cutting into your letter, because remember, this is going to get paper mache'd and you won't even see it. Cut out the center and you can see that I cut through the letter, but again, it's not going to matter because once it's paper mache'd and taped, you won't even be able to tell. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same to this cardboard. I'm going to lay this one right on top and making sure to hold it in place. This is very important because you want the front and the back to be exactly the same. I'm going to hold it in place. I'm just going to trace it out and cut it out. Both pieces are cut. Again, you can see how they are cut right down the middle. So I'm just going to take a piece of my masking tape and make sure that it stays in place. And now I can think about how wide I want my letters to be. So how far apart, how wide do you want them to stand? Do you want them to be a thin letter or a really thick letter. That's up to you, and that's going to depend on what you place in between your letters. I can obviously see that this is going to be wide. It would stick out. So this is not going to work for me, but I happen to have just some lids from some containers. Again, I'm just recycling some materials, and I have also stacked up some of those extra pieces of cardboard. So again, now is when you decide how thick do you want your letter to be. So if you want it to be a certain size, you can definitely cut your cardboard out, and this would give me about 1 inch. So that's a pretty good size. So I would need to do a stack here on this end, and a stack here on this end, or I can do 3 of these where I'd have to hot glue them and put it here. I think I like this width better. So it would be something like this. So I'm going to heat up my hot glue gun, and I am going to do 3 stacks, 1 on this end, 1 on each of the bottom ends. I've hot glued these 3 caps together. Now I'm going to hot glue them to the corners of each of my letters. And once I hot glue it there, then I will attach the other letter on top. I have both of my pieces all glued together, and one thing I want to make sure that you do when you do glue your inside pieces is to make sure before the glue sets to go ahead and stand up your letter to make sure it's laying flat and that it's balanced appropriately. So now that I have my inside pieces done, I am ready to start taping the edges. So you need to take your masking tape, and masking tape does work best, and you need to basically wrap around your entire structure. Not too tight. If you do it too tight, then your board is going to bend a little bit. So just gently making sure you have a flat edge. You're going to go around all of the edges and the inside as well. Tape is complete, and you can see I got inside all of the little crevices. All of the edges are taped in. I might put another little piece of tape right here. And now it's time to start paper macheing. So I have my strips of paper cut out, and this is what you're going to do. You're going to gently put your paper mache in your cup, and taking your 2 fingers, almost like scissors, you're just going to run them down the paper mache strip so it's not dripping wet. And then you're going to take it and you're going to gently lay it across your structure. In this case, it's our letter. And once you do that, you are going to take your finger and again, gently rub it so that it's nice and smooth on your structure. However you lay it is exactly how it's going to dry. So again, I'm going to dip it. I'm going to take my fingers and drag it, and I'm going to gently lay it on my structure, overlapping the last piece I just did, and then smoothing it out. If you have wrinkles when you lay it on your structure, you will have wrinkles when it dries. So it's really important to take your time to lay them out nice and smooth. Again, overlapping just a little bit of the last piece that I just put. And once you lay it with your finger, you smooth it out. Now, in areas like this, where I have an inside piece, I wanna make sure that my piece will fit. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same. Wet it, run my fingers through it. I'm going to slide it through that little gap. And then again, press it and gently smooth it out. This piece, I want to make sure that I lay it nice and flat. Again, however you lay it is how it's going to dry. So I'm going to do my entire piece, and then this will dry for 24 hours before I put the second layer on. My first layer is complete. Once it is done, before you set it aside to completely dry, I want you to make sure you go around all of the edges and the sides and make sure you smooth everything out, because while you're handling it and flipping it over, you may have created a wrinkle that you don't want. So just give it one last look and smooth all the edges out. And then you want this to dry for a good 24 hours before you add your second layer. I also like to let it dry however I want it to stand. So I'm going to let it stand and dry just like this to ensure that the bottoms dry flat and that it will be even and my letter will stand on its own. I added a second layer of paper mache, and I just wanted to show you really quick, when you go to add that second layer, this is something that's really important. When you go to place it down, you see how you can see all of the little holes in the paper mache strip? You want to make sure you rub it really, really well so that all of those little holes kind of get filled in. And if that means wetting your finger and wetting down the paper mache a little bit, definitely do that. It'll give you a smoother finish, which will be really helpful if you plan on painting your paper mache. So really, really rub it in good. So all those little holes kind of disappear and get filled in with the modeling agent. Now it's time to decide how you're going to decorate. Maybe comic book strips, photos you can draw or paint on it, flowers, tissue paper, wrapping paper, even some old maps. I have decided for my letter A, I am going to decoupage. And decoupage is basically the art of decorating something with cutout paper. So I have these scrapbook papers and all different polka dots, and I am going to tear it, and I will place different pieces along the front, the sides, and the back. You can do one big piece if you wanted to, but I like the look of these torn edges. So with decoupage, or this Mod Podge that I'm using, you want to put a layer of Mod Podge first on your surface, and then you press your paper down, and while you press it down, then you also put some of the Mod Podge over the top. And I probably should have folded this. Layer under your paper and a layer over your paper. You can definitely use your hands also. And now I'm going to get another one of my scrap pieces, and I am going to place it over the top just a little bit. I love to see that torn edge on the side, so I'm going to fold it where it's going to go over the edge, just like that, to make it easier to apply. Here and here. And then over the top. After finishing the decoupage and allowing it to dry for at least 24 hours, I decided to add some buttons and a couple of ribbons at the top.